the traditional organization, the construction of the economic and social value chains around culture, for a very long time have moved around an idea of either a culture that is not really creating resources but mainly absorbing and depending on public subsidy, or the classical situation of the culture and creative industry, in which you have mass markets, but of course in this case with the predominance of the audience and the predominance of course of the marketability of certain forms of culture and expression. What's happening today is particularly interesting because we are witnessing the emergence of a new situation in which the distinction between producers and audience is blurring very quickly. A situation in which practically everybody has now the technology to produce at a professional level or a semi-professional level all kind of contents, and at the same time to share these contents, to circulate these contents without referring to the market, if they want, in any stage of this process. And so this really means that we are moving towards a new social and economic organization, which is not that the market will disappear, but it will be simply part of a more complex picture that has to do with communities of practice, that has to do with non-market mediated circulation of contents, and it has to do with the issue of massive capability building. This is the problem. Active citizenship will have a clearly cultural nature. If people are not able to be part of this game of producing and circulating contents in some sense, they would be marginal in society. So we cannot left anyone behind, but at the same time we have to understand that in order to do this, education, but not education simply through the conventional channels, but education in terms of building platforms in which people can really participate, not rhetorically but substantially, really becomes the challenge to develop this new conception of culture that I think will characterize the century that has just begun. Well, on one side, of course, facilities are important, but there has been a lot of not only reflection but practice in this respect. There's a lot of creative renovation of former industrial or even heritage buildings, and this is of course a good sign. But then this is the hardware. On the software side, of course, we know, as I already hinted at before, that without a massive advancement in the capacity to participate, we can build the facilities, but the facilities will simply not work without this. And so probably this also means that the facilities should not be simply centers for cultural production, but also for cultural participation, for sharing of experiences, probably some hybrid models in which the educational side, the research side, the production side would mingle together in new ways. But also at the same time, what is important is to consider the links between the traditional cultural activities and other sectors. Just to make an example, one of the key issues for the future will be what I call the cultural welfare. What do I mean by this? Now we know that there is an extraordinarily strong relationship between cultural participation and the perceived level of well-being of people, how people feel, measured on a clinical scale, so rigorously, and at the same time the relationship between this feeling and the rate, say, of hospitalization or of medicalization of people. So if cultural participation, as it seems, is able to cut down the rate of hospitalization of the elderly population in Europe, this means that probably the way in which we tackle the welfare budget issues will change in an expected way, with culture playing a key role in this process, not only in generating more well-being, but also in creating huge savings of the traditional welfare budgets and making this available for culture. So what kind of facilities do you need? In some sense, you can do some cultural activity in hospitals, but you can, for example, create new convergent structures for doing this, singling out new professional profiles, singling out new physical platforms for doing this, and so on. Then, of course, the other software aspect has to do with finance. The financing of cultural activities on the entrepreneurial side, of course, is extremely important, but at the moment is deeply conditioned by the fact that if judged according to traditional business evaluation models, in some cases culture doesn't make it. But we have to understand this inclusive dimension, and we have to understand that especially when we consider the public dimension of financial benefits. Having some forms of preferential financial support for culture, in this particular respect, the cultural welfare, but we could cite analogous situations for social cohesion or for environmental sustainability, then we really understand that financing culture, creating preferential tools for access to funds can really become a key endeavor, but also a key payoff for the whole society, not only for people living and working in the cultural sector. The issue is strategic thinking. In many cases, regions tend to be rather down to earth, which is good on one side, specific projects, doing things. But if you don't understand what's the role that culture is going to play in your local development model at the regional level, this could be a source of trouble. You could develop wonderful projects that could simply remain what they are, a sort of dead end, not because the projects are bad, the project can be extremely good, but because they are not linked to a more pervasive vision of how this could change the economic and social generation of value. So I think that it's almost never a matter of funding. Funds are there, and they are there at the European level, less so at the national or regional level, but they are there basically. The problem is putting them in the right context.